The train ride. I settled into my seat on the midnight train, exhausted after a long day of travelling. The car was dimly lit and nearly empty except for a few other passengers spaced out in the rows ahead of me. As the train pulled out of the station, I leaned my head against the window, watching the lights of the platform shrink into the distance. A thick fog had rolled in, and I could barely make out the dark silhouettes of trees and hills passing by outside. The steady rhythm of the train soon lulled me into a light sleep. Some time later, I stirred awake to the sound of the train's whistle piercing the night air. Bleary-eyed, I glanced across the aisle and was startled to see a pale young woman sitting there staring back at me. She looked frail and sickly, with dark circles under her eyes. I was certain the seat had been empty when I fell asleep. She gave me a sad, haunting smile before turning her gaze to the window. Unnerved, I looked around the car. The other passengers seemed to have vanished. The train whistle blew again, a long, lonely wail in the darkness. When I turned back, the pale woman was gone too. The train began to pick up speed, the car creaking and swaying violently. I gripped my seat in fear as an icy wind suddenly swept through the car, blowing out the lights and plunging me into darkness. The train hurtled on through the night, rattling wildly out of control. I huddled in my seat, disoriented and shaking with terror. Up ahead, I could see a faint glow approaching. As the train raced toward it, I realized with horror that it was a collapsed bridge, the tracks ending abruptly into a yawning abyss. I opened my mouth to scream, but no sound came out. The glow enveloped the train as we plummeted over the edge. I felt myself floating as everything went white. Then my eyes flew open with a gasp. I was still in my seat, daylight streaming through the windows. An elderly woman across the aisle peered at me with concern. "Are you all right, dear? You look like you've seen a ghost."